guys, it's Caleb from Rokblokz, and today I'm back in the shop. We've got this Speed UTV. We got a new fender kit for it, so let's go ahead and show you how to install them. Here we have the tools laid out that you'll need for install. You'll need a 4mm Allen, you'll need a Phillips head drive, you'll need some tape to help protect your paint, you'll need an 8mm socket, you'll need a 5mm Allen, you'll need an 1/8 inch and a 5/16 drill bit, then you'll also need a drill. Today you'll see that we'll be using this, but you can also use hand tools. Here we have the front laid out. What you'll get in your kit is your main flap for that corner and your accent flap for that corner. Then you'll also get your hardware. We'll go ahead and put a breakdown of that on the screen right now. Inside your hardware kit you'll also get your mount tabs. We're going to pre-assemble on the table before we head over to the vehicle, and to do so we're just going to take our accent flap. We're going to flip it so that the etching and logo is face down. Then we'll take our flange nuts. We're just going to press those into the hex-shaped holes along the edge right there. Those pressed in, that's ready to go. Now we're going to take our pull tabs. We're just going to separate them real quick. With those separated, we can now go ahead, take them. We're going to make it so that the etching is facing the exterior edge of your main flap. We're just going to click those into place, like so. We're going to do that at all 5 mounting points along the fender's edge here. You'll repeat this for the other side as well. With those clicked into place, we can now go ahead and begin mounting. Here we are at the front fender. To begin on this Speed, we're going to remove the 2 factory screws from the lower portion of the fender right here. These are just a 5mm Allen. So we'll go ahead and grab our tool. And we'll get those undone. You can go ahead, set those 2 screws to the side or keep them as spares for some of the other bolts. We'll be replacing them. Before we get to mounting up the flap, we're just going to go ahead and just throw some tape over the fender's edge for protection, just to avoid any scratches. You can be really careful and nothing will happen. This is just being extra precautious, just making sure that we get it all right the first time. Now we're going to go ahead, we're going to grab our flap, we're going to mount it to these 2 points here using the new 30mm button head with 1¼ washers. And then we'll go ahead, we'll lift the flap into position, holding it up against the fender, and drill the remaining holes. So the 2 holes in the car are going to correspond with the 2 slots in the bottom of the main flap. Go ahead. I made these long enough that you should be able to kind of get them started by hand. Just a few turns. Go ahead and get this one started. See if we can. May need to flex your lower plastic in just because there's a few layers and you want to keep everything aligned. With those in, we can switch to our 4mm Allen. We're going to lightly snug that up. Now with the main flap attached at those 2 locations down here, we're going to pull it all the way out in those slots. What that's going to allow us to do, we're going to be able to lift that up into position, keeping the mounting tabs on the exterior side of the fender's edge. And we can do it and hold the entire fender up against like so. And what we're going to want to do is, if you have a helper, have them hold the fender while you drill. If not, I would suggest just marking. And we'll go ahead and put on the screen a template of where you would like to mark or where you should drill. What we're going to do is we're going to drill our pilot holes then we'll be able to let the flap relax, and then we'll come back with our 5/16 bit and expand those holes. Then we'll be able to remove the tape, and we'll mount the rest of the fender. So let's go ahead and get to drilling. So as we're doing this, we want to keep as much pressure up against the fender, making sure that there's no gap here. And we're just going to slightly drill towards the outer edge, furthest away from the flap, but just slightly offset from the center. What that's going to do is when we put it on the inside, it's going to allow that to keep more tension and not allow any gaps through this. So we'll hold it in position along the fender's edge here. We're going to go ahead and drill. Keeping it in there along the corner, and I keep pressure up in that corner. Now for up here, I keep that pressure. And then finally for the nose right here, looks like our tape came up just a bit short. Now we'll go ahead, switch to that larger bit, and expand all of our holes. Now that we've got all of our mounting holes drilled and expanded to the size needed, we're going to go ahead and take our M6 metal clips. And what these are going to do is they're going to clip directly onto our mount tabs right here. So one at a time, I'm just going to slide them down from the top, making sure that the extruded portion, where the threads are on the inside here. And we'll go ahead, get some satisfying clicks out of all of these. There we go. Now with those all in place and our flap still loose, we can push this towards the inside on the slots down here, and then we can tuck it back up and tuck our mount tabs behind the fender this time, and we can take our countersunk screws with dress washers and screw into them. So we're just going to start from the bottom here and work our way forward. We've got our screws. Just going to go ahead. Don't quite fully secure everything until it's all in place. It'll make it a lot easier. So now we go to hole number 2. Now that we've got all the main screws in, we can go around and do a round of full tightening. I'm just going to start from this point on the fender, work my way to the top, and then I'll tighten the bottom too here. And as I'm doing this, I'm just going to be holding and pushing the tab backwards up against the fender just to hold it into place, and then I'll fully tighten those down. Now with those all snug down, we can go ahead, grab our 5/16 drill bit again. We can drill the lower hole in the main flap. That's going to go through kind of the side skirt area on the car. Then we'll go ahead, put in a large insert. We'll go ahead and expand that with a 1-inch screw. So let's go ahead, get that drill out again, and finish up. Here we still have that 5/16 drill bit on our drill. We're just going to use the hole in the flap as a guide. With that fully tightened down, we're now good to go ahead and attach our lower accent piece. To attach the lower accent, we're going to grab it. It should already be pre-assembled from what we did on the bench. You'll grab your 1/2-inch thumb screws, and to do so, we're just going to align the 3 holes with the 3 holes in the main flap. And then coming in through the back side here, we'll take our thumb screws. And we're just going to screw into those flange nuts. And the way that we do it is kind of opposite of your traditional method. Our flange is actually the retainer to keep it from pulling through the flap. So if you follow the directions, your flange nuts will work properly. Get those nice and snug, and that completes the install. You're going to repeat these same steps on the other side. Now let's go ahead and jump to the rear. Here we have the rear laid out. What you'll get in your kit is your rear main flap for that corner. Then you'll also get your hardware. We'll go ahead and put a breakdown of that hardware on the screen right now. Also in your hardware bag, you'll get your pull-through mount tabs. Now, before we head over to the vehicle, we're going to take our mount tabs. We're just going to go ahead and separate those, get them ready. And then we're going to prep the flap with them. It's very similar to what we did on the front. Just going to go ahead, find the outer edge, which would be this edge here. We're going to take these and face them so that the etching faces outward. Click those into place. It's a little easier if you push one side in before the other. Just kind of rock them in. With those all pressed in, we're now ready to head over to the vehicle and begin installing. Here we are at the rear fender. We're going to begin by throwing some tape along the fender's edge just to protect it. So let's go ahead, grab our blue tape. You don't need to do this, but if you just want to be extra careful, it's a good thing to do just to protect it while you're drilling or marking. That way you don't have leftover marks on your car when you're done. So, go to about there, and then just about to this seam is where our last hole will be. So, go ahead, wrap the edge. Now we're going to go ahead, we're going to jump up inside. We're going to remove the factory screws and mount the new brackets. Once we've got those mounted, we'll go ahead, grab our flap, and begin mounting. To begin, we're going to remove 5 bolts from along the bottom side here. We're going to reuse them and mount our brackets to them. To begin, it'll be the 2 8mm that are right up in the front of the fender. That one. And then we'll also go ahead and get these 3 5mm bolts. With those removed, we're going to go ahead and reinstall them with our metal brackets. First, we'll take our Z brackets, which all 3 locations with the 5mm, and go ahead and put them up in there like so. So they are bent and they face towards the outside of the vehicle. You can pull them all the way to the end of the slot and square them up with the inside of the body here. Go ahead and just get that snugged up. If you're using Allen keys, we have recesses in the flaps that when you leave these loose, you can go ahead and tighten these 3 up. These 2, because of the angle, you'll need to tighten them up fully, but the bracket will self-align with these plastic tabs on the side and the top, and it will only fit one way. So let's continue mounting our Z brackets. Alright, now we're going to start back to our 8mm. Go ahead. Get the bracket in. You may need to lift the plastic in order to get it to align. Get it set like so. Now we'll go ahead and do this last one right up here in the nose. All our brackets are snug. Now we're good to go ahead and begin mounting our flap. Now that we've gone ahead and got all our metal brackets installed, we're going to go ahead and take our M6 metal clips and we're going to slide these over the holes along the bottom edge. These will be the circle holes where all the top holes were mounted with the slots. So we'll go ahead, get these in place. You'll want to align them and you'll want to push them on from the side. You won't want to push them on from the end. Now with all those aligned, we can grab our flap with our tabs pre-installed. We're going to take this rear tab. What that's going to do is it's going to flex up inside the fender right there and kind of help with some of the alignment and support while we're going ahead and getting all of our spacers and our screws into these locations. So we can kind of just lean it up like so. We're going to start from the back and work our way forward. So to begin mounting, we're going to start at our rearmost hole. We're going to use one of our shorter button heads and a 2-inch washer on the bottom side. We're going to put that through our rearmost hole, and then we'll go ahead and put an 1 1/4" washer on the top side, followed with a 5mm spacer. Now we're going to lift that up and align it and start that by hand. Left a bit long so you have some extra mobility. Next we're going to take the same size button head with a 1 1/4" washer on the bottom side and 1 1/4" washer on the top side, and this will be a 10mm spacer. Go ahead, align that, start screwing it in by hand. Now for our next hole, we're going to take the same size screw, an 1 1/4" washer. I'm going to put that through the third hole, or the middle hole. Put another washer on top. We're going to take our 15mm spacer, put that through, align it, get that started by hand as well. Now for the next hole, we're going to take the same size screw, put another washer on top, and the spacers we're going to use for this is a 7.5 and a 5. Which is going to make 12.5mm of spacer, and we're going to align that, and that's just going to go up and in. Get that one started by hand. And then for our last hole, we're going to take our longer button head with an 1 1/4" washer. Then we'll go ahead, put that through the hole right here. Put our other 1 1/4" washer on the top with a 30mm spacer. We're going to go ahead and get that one started by hand as well. Now that we've got all our 5 bottom supports in, we're going to move on to the fender's edge now. We've got them somewhat supported, not fully tightened down yet, just so that you can go ahead and the slots that are in there, you can pull your flap all the way out to get these tabs exposed and on the outside. And just like on the front, we're going to use those as our drill template to drill our pilot holes through. We'll go ahead, expand those holes, and then we'll go ahead, put our clips on, tuck them inside, and mount them. So let's go ahead, get this supported, and get our pilot holes drilled. You want to make sure that you have pressure up against the fender, and you're holding the tab against the fender as well. So just like so. And we're going to drill in the same position like we did on the front. Keep it supported all the way around. Now with our pilot holes drilled, we'll switch to that 5/16. And kind of just push these out of the way now, flex them down for a second. Support the fender. With the vinyl covering, what I'm liking to do, afterwards I'll push the rest back in the hole. I'll flip my drill into reverse. Push it through that way to leave a cleaner finish. Those all drilled, and go ahead, take our tape off. Now we're going to go ahead and put our clips on all 5 of the mounting tabs. We'll start up here on the front, making sure that the extruded portion of the clip is facing towards the inside of the vehicle, so that way we can screw into it from the outside. Now we can go ahead and tuck all these tabs along the inside of the fender. Now with all our holes drilled and our clips installed, we can go ahead and push this back up into place, putting all the tabs behind or on the inside of the fender. Now we're going to take our countersunk bolts with dress washers. We'll go ahead and get those all started. Just like so. Now I'm just going to switch to my 4mm Allen. Go ahead, support this. Tighten that all the way down. And now we can go ahead and just tighten up all our bottom ones as well. With those fully tightened, that's how you complete the rear. You can repeat these same steps on the other side. Thanks for watching.